Alright, y'all. I am in North Carolina this weekend. Got about 5.5 miles total to hike to get into the area I want to be in and set up camp. We'll spike out there for the next 3 days. Pretty exciting. Anyway, we'll get camp set up and go from there. Alright, so this is my campsite right here. I'll show you a little bit about it. Just a nice little flat spot. But most importantly, we flipped camp. It is just wide open hardwood. And I'm thinking in the fall, they're really not going to be honed in on these wide open hardwoods as much. You know, they're going to kind of cling a little bit tighter to the thickets. So anyway, I've got a nice big spring head down here. Good flowing water. I mean, that's going to hold water even during a drought. But yeah, I'm not going to have any scent kind of blowing around in a good spot that I want to hunt. I think I'm just in a little isolated pocket, nice and flat, and I'm away from the animals. Alright, got everything set up, just getting nestled in. Got a fire to keep the critters away, but yep, home sweet home for the next 3 nights. Won't be too bad. Alright, here's a pile of spring scat full of bear corn seeds. What else is in here? Just grass, leaves, whatever they're browsing on. I'm not exactly sure everything that they eat in the springtime, but it's pretty obvious that it's mostly fiber. Check it out, got our first bear bed. They almost always want to lean up against a tree. Not sure why, but that's just what they do. You can see he's been stepping on everything, just browsing around. Right here's a pile of scat. Grab a stick. Yep, spring browse. Look like a pretty good sized dropping. You can really see his trail that he's been leaving behind, stepping on all the bushes. But I think he's going after these May apples. You can see it just kind of keeps going. He's been foraging in here for a minute. Pretty cool. Man, it is beautiful in here. But not really a fall habitat. It's pretty open. I'm gonna start looking for some thick stuff if I can find it. We'll see where we end up in a little bit. But man, I just wanted to show you, it is just a meadow in here, really. Yeah, that's what it is. He's eating May apples. He's knocking them all over, stealing the fruit. This little trail keeps going down the hollow. I think it's a water trail. We're going to a spring head. Oh. Wow, look at that. That is a massive spring head. Looks like there's even a wallow right there. I'm gonna go check it out. Man, that is beautiful right there. It is flowing. Let's get across here. That is a wallow. Now, I've always thought that it was only pigs that use these, but last year I pretty much verified that bears use them too. Started looking on YouTube for different wallow videos on the East Coast, and sure enough, pretty common. Straight out of the ground. What better way of knowing that you're in the right area than seeing claw marks in the white oaks? Yeah. All right, guys, found a little white oak ridge here, and one thing I wanted to mention is last year they didn't really climb the white oaks much because they just came in so late, and there was already red oak acorns on the ground, so they had no reason to climb. So that'd make it a little bit tougher to scout this year. But one thing I wanted to point out is you can still kind of tell if these trees get climbed. I'm going to show you right here. Notice how there's not any limbs coming off of the main branch on these trees. It's because they've been pruned back so many years that it's just forced the tree to grow outward. Same thing right here. They kind of give off the shape of a wine glass or a big field goal, as I like to call it. Anyway, they definitely worked this ridge here. I'm gonna keep going. Here's a really old bare bed, ain't been used in a couple years, but it doesn't really look all that obvious. There's a footprint right here, at least it passed through. But on these beds, something I found interesting, whenever they lay down, it's like they want to lay on their back and they'll reach up and they always scratch the tree. You can see some really old claw marks here. I don't know why they do that. I imagine it's just like a cat. You know, sometimes they'll just reach out and stretch, and they just like to scratch the trees next to their bed. Got another little drop in here. But you can see these plants are called black cohos. You can see where they've been bent over. He's just been walking all around in here, just foraging whatever he can find. But man, they just, no matter what time of year it is, they always just leave a trail of destruction everywhere they go. This morning I'm walking along a pretty big bench. The reason I favor these benches over the ridge tops is that there's always water, almost always water on these benches. And a bear would much rather feed next to the water than a mile away from it. Just takes less energy to do that. Anyway, gonna keep on trucking. Well, I made it up above the bench a little bit, probably 200 feet. There just wasn't any oak trees down there. It's mostly poplar and maple. The dirt's just really wet, soft. Looks like the kind of dirt you'd keep night crawlers in, a little fishing can. But up here, I'd say 3 out of every 4 trees is white oak. This is a really good looking spot. Yeah, starting to get pretty high again. Anyway, it's not really the ideal spot. I mean, there's a lot of oak trees here, but there's no cover. It is wide open in here. So I'm gonna see if I can find some cover nearby, because there really wasn't any down on the bench either. This place is really open. Having trouble finding cover. Nice little track here. They got a trail pounded out going this way. There's a cliff right below me, and this is probably their preferred summer habitat. Yeah, something been digging there too. But you'll notice it's very bushy here. These are all blueberry bushes, mostly high bush. There's a lot of lower bush in here too, so this really keeps them in here. A lot of soft mast throughout the summer. Alright, still on this cliff edge here. Got blackberry blooms. So we don't have blackberries in here. These are all low bush blueberries. And right here, we got some high bush. You can see, they're already blooming. I mean, it's nothing but berries right here. You see, it's just very low canopy, a lot of sun exposure here. Rocky, shallow soil. This is probably the thickest cover that I've found so far. So I'm gonna dig around in here a little bit and see what I can find. Check him out, little garter snake. That right there is a winter den. That's freaking cool. Let's go check it out. Under this root ball. That is wild. It's so dadgum steep right here. I about have to grab onto every little sapling I can just to keep from sliding. But wow, this is a nice little perch overlooking a little micro bench down here. I'm not sure that has anything to do with it using it. I think it's just more of a convenient spot, shelter. That den is about 100 foot up that way. You could see how steep it is, and then nice little flat bench right here. This is one of the spots I found on a topo map. We're gonna check it out. So far it really ain't looking all that good. All the oaks are up high and dry. Yeah, we'll see what happens here. That's what I'm talking about. Massive white oaks on this bench. This is nice. Yeah, this is what I've been looking for. I'm on a little micro bench, and these are some massive white oaks right here. So I got a really steep face above me. Obviously they bed there over the winter. I'm sure, you know, they bed pretty much anywhere over the summer and the fall. But up there in the cliff, that's where the only real cover that I found was just some really dense just bushes, a little bit of cedar around the rocks. And then once you get below the rocks, it's vertical drop, bunch of blowdowns. They're crawling under the blowdowns. And then 100 foot below, there's this bench, white oaks, looking good. I'm gonna see if I can find a water source now. That'll be the next thing I look for. All right, guys, this is it. Not only is it a spring head, that's some running water. So even during a drought, that's going to be holding water in it. And I don't know if you can tell, it's nice and thick here. The only cover that I'm finding today is like some high stem count low grow. There's no mountain laurel or rhododendron. There's not even pines here. This is probably the most open hardwoods I've ever seen. And the places everything are bedding is really just topography based, visual advantage, I guess. And these high stem count areas. This spot right here, it's looking pretty golden. And the reason why, I'll see if I can explain this the best way I can. Picture an apartment complex, like a really high-end one. It's got the gym, it's got a pool, you know, there may be a gas station across the street, right next to the interstate. It's just very convenient for somebody to live there. They've got everything they need in one spot. Well, the bears are very similar in the way that they look for these areas that have cover, they have food, they have water, because it just takes a lot more energy to go around trying to get every single thing they need through a long distance. You know, their whole life revolves around, you know, basically eating food and getting fat for the winter and breeding. You know, that's it. They're pretty simple, but when you find these places that just have, you know, food, water, cover, a good, nice travel terrain, like it, the more conveniences you add in a spot for the bears, the more attracted they are to it. Anyway, this is one of those spots, and like I said, I've had a really hard time finding this, but it's starting to look good. Things are definitely looking up now. Check it out. Old chimney stack here. Hard to tell if this is an old homestead or a logging camp. There's a ton of logging roads in here, so it could be either or. Always cool finding that stuff. Love it. Check it out. Another old chimney stack here. Something I've always found cool on bear trails is whenever there's a log across the trail, when they step over it, they always leave these claw marks. Always thought that was pretty cool. Right here's some more claw marks on this little log. Trail's going this way. Now this scat is full of acorns from last fall. So we got a fresh beaten down trail I've been following for a little bit. Sign from the fall, and they're still using it in the spring, so this is a pretty active route. Alright, got another little bear bed here. This one's a lot fresher. But good rule of thumb, if you're not sure what it is, just dig around and see if you can find hair. You know, bears, they don't really shed their fur a lot, but deer, on the other hand, they do. So when a deer beds down, you can see just white fur everywhere. And I've been digging around in here. There's not any fur, but once again, you know, bears, they like to scratch whatever tree they're leaning up against. So there's some claw marks in there. You can't really make it out on the camera very well. It's a poplar tree, but sure enough, got another one. Got another bear bed up here. Once again, up on a big poplar. There you see the claw marks in the bark. Almost every single time. They love scratching the trees that they're leaning up on. All topography based. They like these little side hills. As I said, there really ain't much for cover other than just high stem count. Right over there is that poplar with the bear bed. Trail's going right here. Well, you know, a little pile of scat right there. Rub trees. Pretty cool. Got another bear bed right here. See, he's been leaving his mark here. Now this is only about 60 yards from that last poplar, and then that other little pile of scats right there. So 2 beds within 60 yards. Both of them are fairly fresh. I'll be dadgum. Another bed right here, and that other one's just right there. So 100-yard stretch, there's 3 beds. Now here's an old little pile of scat. That's got acorns in it, and I'm still on the same ridge. Maybe 60 yards down there's that fresh spring bed. There's 3 of them total that I found so far. Make it forward. There's another one right here. I'll be dadgum. Yeah, there's some oaks on this ridge. Water's just down about 200 feet. I don't know. Better go ahead and mark this one on the onyx. Got fall and spring sign. Old beds and new beds. Starting to get a little patches of mountain laurel in here. You know, they're just very spotty. There's not like a whole side of a mountain covered in it. It's just very sporadic. This one thing I feel like I should say that I'm noticing is there's not really a very defined trail on this ridge. Down on the bench where the water and stuff was, there were stomp trails, just I guess rut trails. Very beat down, very obvious, and easy to follow. But up here, you don't really have that. It's just kind of off the beaten path. And they're really bedding heavily on it. So hot sun and beds, they don't really go hand in hand. Got another little stomp trail here. You can see there's a footprint there, another one there, another one here. I wish this camera would pick it up better. There's one here, one there. It's just, they look like human footprints. Like if somebody had a 200-pound pair of boots and they were just stomping the footprints into the ground. You'll never see anything else like it out here. Alright, so here's another bed right here, but there's a bunch of oak limbs all over the ground. They're a good 2 or 3 years old, but a lot of times the tree that they're working, you know, they'll climb up, feed, and then they'll just bed right here at the bottom of the tree that they're feeding in. Like I said, the water's not really far away. There's not a defined water trail going down to the spring, but you know, you can just bed on here, hop down, get some water, go to another tree and do the same thing. So it uses like a different route every time, so they don't leave a really defined trail. Sometimes they do, you know, if they're up on a high ridge and then, you know, they come down the spine of the ridge to a little saddle, you know, that spine would be the water trail. That'd be a good place to set up. You know, if you can't really find where they're feeding, just sit right there in the saddle and just wait on them to come down to get water. So this is the last little bed I'm gonna film, just because I'm running out of battery, but I think you guys get the point. You'll find certain ridges that they just really like to hang out on. Anyway, I'm gonna see if I can find something different. This right here is bear corn. That seems to be what they've been feeding on mostly. Probably the first thing that comes up, other than the grass and the leaves popping out. Another bed right here. This is a hot little spot. Oh my God, there's a big bed right there underneath that poplar. Yeah, this is something I'm gonna mark for September. You know, there's just too much going on right here. I mean, there ain't really nothing special about it. It's not like it's a solid oak flat. Everything kind of looks the same out here, but I don't know. I think the main driver is topography. There's no cover. There's no obvious thickets for everything to hide in. I think everything's just using the terrain. All right. Everybody that likes to carry water bottles in the woods, start carrying a smart water bottle. I'll show you why. Here's a regular one. These are just so freaking noisy. It's unbearable. Smart water, silent. Anyway, there's your tip of the day. All right. I've pretty much seen everything I need to see down on the bench. So what I'm doing today, I'm hiking all the way up to the high ridge and just see what's going on up top habitat wise. And after that, I'm gonna start making my way back to the truck. This is quite a haul to get in here, but anyway, I'll let you know what I find when I get there. So there's a stomp trail here. realize you can't really make it out on the camera, but in person you'll be able to see. But most of the time these scratching posts will be along the stomp trails. Now, I've always said that 99% of the time they like scratching up pine trees or hemlocks or spruce, you know, whatever softwood is available, but there's really not any here. So this is the first time that I've seen them almost exclusively use hardwoods. All right, I'm up on the main high ridge spine. You can see that it's just like a main game trail right there. This is what the bears will predominantly use over the summer. Just they're traveling. They're in the rut. They're looking for a mate to breed with. So if you wanted to just see what kind of bears were in the area, this would be a good spot for a trail camera, just because it's so commonly used. But yeah, I don't think I'd necessarily hunt it during the fall, because they're going to be honing in on different things. But you know, if you just want to get some action on your trail camera, you know, pretty good spot to do it. I'll tell you what, these peak dehydrated meals are pretty freaking good. But big pet peeve of mine lately is finding these freaking bags all over the woods. I don't know what it is, but people just don't seem to want to pack anything out with them. But you know, a little Ziploc bag works wonders. Anything that's messy, tuna cans, whatever, you gotta keep that from getting food all over your backpack. I don't know what your reason is, but come on, we can do better than that. I tell you what, you just can't beat this right here. Love it. Bears don't live in ugly places, that's for sure.